This is day one. As usual, I'm slightly nervous. I'm up at Glenbuchat, that's how you say it, isn't it?
Yes.
Glenbuchat, with a lovely group of people to do the flower painting workshop. I've actually started an online flower painting course yesterday, and I thought, as well as sharing this with you afterwards, that I could maybe share the video with them, because it's nice to be in person and to feel like you're in person almost, you know, rather than doing everything online. So thank you for tolerating the iPad there in the midst of things. It's like another face. Okay. So actually, I find that before doing anything, before starting at all, it feels important to me to tune in to how I feel myself. And here, you know, it's more important than any other thing. Then I think it's the thing that starts everything. It's the root of everything else, you know. So I'm noticing a little bit of stiffness in my shoulder, and feel like it's useful for me to shake it off a little bit, to shake my legs and arms, and to kind of get the energy moving a little bit. And everybody will have their own process, and I suppose particularly given the demonstration, I feel like I need to kind of be a little bit on it. So that feels kind of good to do that. And also, yeah, so that's the first thing. And to remember to stay hydrated, everyone to have a drink of water. The water here is good, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's lovely water. And I go around and see each of you after the demonstration and see what your setup is like, and make sure that you're comfortable in yourself, that you can fully occupy the space that you're in. Can you hear me okay when I turn around? Not really.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That you can fully occupy the space that you're in your position, you know, that you have everything within easy reach, and you're standing or sitting at arm's length from your board. I like this card. It's a shirt card, and it's shiny on one side, and that's the side that I use for painting on. And you don't even need to use gesso on it when it's acrylic. You can just use it without the gesso. And I like it because you can wipe away and things.
Does it have a name, this paper? Is it just card?
It's called shirt card. Shirt.
Shirt.
As in shirts, because it's
shirt
stuff
card.
that you when you buy a shirt and there's the shiny card in there, that's what it is. Yeah. So it's I get it in the Toll Cross Art Shop. In Edinburgh. It's a good one, isn't it?
It's lovely.
I love it there. The man who used to run it passed away, you know, a few months ago. He was really well loved, but they're keeping it going anyway.
Good.
That's the Toll Cross Art Shop in Edinburgh. Okay, so I'm going to tape it down all round. Okay, so far. Okay. And you might find, as you're setting yourself up, you might find that you begin to look at the flowers from your viewpoint, and consider the space that they might occupy on your piece of paper. Now you can use the full-size sheet, and I've got drawing boards that are the same size as the sheets of paper, if you want to use the full sheets and the drawing boards, or we can cut it down if you prefer to work on a smaller piece. You can let me know that anyway. Okay. So, let me see. And I'm actually going to use this as my palette. It's a piece of that card as well. I'm just going to use that for putting the paint out here. Just stick down that corner. It's good to have so you can kind of relax about the paint now, like when you've got the cover on the table. First, I wonder. Yeah, I've turned it this way because to me the sweep of the flowers is more that way. I'm kind of more interested in capturing the. Let's see now. Or we could have the vase. Yeah, I suppose if I did it that way, then we would have the vase coming in and some flowers there. But actually, I think I think I'm happier to have it horizontally. So I was considering the vertical and the horizontal format there because, yeah, it's good. Yeah, to just, sorry, not really making sense. But I felt more inspired by the width of the flowers than having the vase included fully. So I think that's what's going to happen. All right. Now I did say that I would bring some sets of these brushes that I like to use, but I didn't get any before coming, I'm sorry. But I bought tons with me that you can use, like you can use any of these for the session, and you can take them away with you if you want to, if you were kind of relying on me bringing some brushes for you. Did you read did you think I was going to bring the brushes?
No.
Okay, good. All right, okay. So, I think what I'll start with some ultramarine green. And a fairly big brush. Let's see now. I just kept bringing more and more bags out. So I might be getting, you know, there's paint in every bag that I kind of use. So it'll be a bit of a rummage in between. But what I want to do is to start off by making a colour to represent the green. The foliage looks to me to be something that's kind of cohesive, that hangs it all together. So I'm going to make a green colour for myself. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So I've got some Van Dyke brown and ultramarine blue here. And then the hooker's green is a handy colour as well, actually. Sorry, no, I don't have this is very bad. These things get a bit stuck, you know. And then I end up doing this. It's not a good idea. That's hooker's. It's called hooker's green. It's funny, isn't it?
Hookers.
Yes.
Someone said that to me online. They said, "You know, you're saying hookers." And I said, "That's because it's called hookers." Well, you know, I don't know if I mentioned hooker's green. It might have been
Yes.
Jenkins green that I said, or Viridian green. Any of them are fine.
I think it was hookers and sap green.
Oh, was it? Okay. And there's plenty. The reason I bought all of these paints is so that you can use them. So I'll put them on the table at the bottom there. And if you want to use any of these paints or inks that I have in my bag, feel free to borrow any paint, okay? Okay. Right, now, what am I doing? I'm going to wet that brush in the kitchen here. And I think I'll set the alarm for 20 minutes from now. It's a very long video. It's 10 minutes talking, getting myself set up. And if I do 20 minutes, I think that'll be plenty to get started. Timer. Okay. Phones are funny things, aren't they? All right. Okay, that's it. 20 minutes now. Timer set. Okay, so you want to find a position where you can see the flowers and see your board by only moving your eyes. And there's a few different options for setup, but I can go around and see that you're comfortable if you're using a table easel, or if you're like me, using the back of the chair. You know, we can make sure that everybody has a good view and is able to easily access their materials and can easily reach the board. Okay, so what am I doing now here? Get a small piece of that. Let's use this. Because I want to see the colour. I want to see the colour that I'm aiming for as I'm making it. Okay. So I put a bit of brown into the blue and green, some of the Van Dyke brown, in order to make a colour that feels a little bit more muted. I'm just going to get one of these things here. So these are the spare pieces that I cut off the paper, so I could kind of just put that up there as a test piece to see what the colour and consistency is like. So the last time I was here, it was watercolour portraits we did, was it?
Yes.
Mm. Kind of different kettle of fish altogether, isn't it? Okay. Alright, so let's go. Yeah, I've half closed my eyes in order to see. Yeah, I think that's okay, that colour. Half closing my eyes in order to see where the darkest bits of the green are. And I'm looking at the part that's here, that general area there, you know. That's what I'm looking at to begin the painting. And when I did wet the brush and dry it again, it's fairly dry now. So I want to be able to capture the sweep of the peonies and how there's one low down here and slightly higher here, and then these two in the middle. So yeah, so we'll just begin with some kind of cross-hatched marks as a way of establishing the position. I'm aware you can't really hear me when I'm turned that way and hammering the brush on the paper. So if there's something I want you to know, I'll say it again and again, all right? Just get some soft green as well here, because I feel like it starts to get a bit kind of more kind of greenish more sap green as we go across the page there. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre into it as well in order to just. And you've got your tear off palettes, I think. Do you? Some of you bring those? No, you can use that like I'm using, you know.
It's got little plastic spoon.
I've got a pan of it
Okay.
if anyone wants to.
Yeah, we'll manage. We can use, I've got plenty of this paper in the car anyway. So yeah, so here we are with this. And I think I'll just even put some water on as well there now. Just checking that our coverings are working. Floor's all covered up, so we're safe out. And then you can use the kitchen paper to begin to make some marks that correspond to the shape of things like maybe the tulip leaf or and there's nice things happen when you pull the water away from the original marks. You can get nice effects, you know. But I'm just generally trying to find the general shape and kind of energy, I suppose, in a way, how the flowers are growing, how the leaves are, where the leaves are heading for, or something like that. Okay, maybe something a little bit darker. So I think I find it helpful to half close my eyes all the time in order that you can really locate where the very dark bits are. And I think it's a good place to start by establishing those darks. Okay. Because you can always work with this way of working with collage and mixed media, you can always adjust an edge. You could put, we could even try that now. You know, you could, actually that's not going to work. I'll do that later on. But you know, you can tear off a bit of collage and put it over a piece. In order to retrieve, for example, the bright yellow of that flower that's standing out there, it would be possible to put some collage on there, or once it's dry, to paint some white paint underneath and then put the yellow on top. So I wouldn't worry about putting on quite dark paint in the beginning. It kind of makes you feel, I think, a little bit bold to make a start like that. So I'm kind of trying to, like looking over and back in order to see the shooting off in different angles and then finding a response for that. And I think what happens is that the more you look, the more you kind of, the more is revealed that needs to be done. or wants to be explained kind of thing. Let's see now. So all the time I'm using the mix of the ultramarine blue. I'll just do it here, which looks like that. The ultramarine blue looks like that, and then the brown looks like that. And then the hooker's green, which looks like that. So those are the three colours that I'm using at the moment. Okay. Alright, what next now, I wonder? Yeah, so we'll see if we can find, I think that the thing with the stocks is that it's probably a good idea to use purple paint, you know, than try and make it. So I'm going to see if I can find my purple in the midst of all of this carry-on. Purple here. I think that's quite a good colour for the stocks here. That's quite a good colour, isn't it, for the stock? You can still agitate the paper and lift off a little bit after it's dried a touch. So I can find the shape of the spaces through the plants as well, still through the foliage. Okay, so let's put on some purple. I'll actually just stick it on with my fingers. So it's kind of here, the stalk. And then there's one that shoots off in this direction. A little bit higher up. Now you don't have to use your hands. I just find I get a bit impatient with the brushes sometimes. Okay, now we could still use the kitchen paper to kind of create the shape of it a little bit more after the first layer has gone on. Maybe you could do with some ultramarine blue as well. You could try the actual brush so that it is quite good fun using your fingers though. You're being first quiet there. Is it all right? Are you okay? Like, is it kind of, you're thinking, what do you fucking do? 10 minutes.
They're speechless.
Yeah, exactly. Which takes a lot.
I take that as
Well
a good
done.
sign. Okay, and then I wonder if, and it's funny, isn't it, when you kind of launch into it, when you take everything with you, sometimes you can't find anything. But I see now what I'm looking for there was some of the stencils. And like I'm looking each time at the next dominant thing, the next thing that's calling my attention. And to me it looks as though that yellow flower is the next thing. And I want to try and find something that can swiftly explain it without me labouring over it. And there'll be time for fine-tuning. There'll be time for kind of considered mark making later on. But I think you want to begin, I think I maybe said this before, you can make a wild goose tame, but you can't make a tame goose wild. So it's quite good to inject energy in the early stages and kind of, you know, then you can spiral back in and make some changes. But it's quite exciting, I think, to first bring energy to it and let it be something, the energy that extends beyond the page. So it begins and ends before and after the mark. Something like that. You kind of get to feel your way. We were talking about feeling, and I think it's really actually the the most important part of this, which is why I think you need to do your best to kind of feel grounded in yourself and breathe. I need to remind myself to do that just now. And wait and see what it is that speaks to you from it. There might be something that really you're inspired to look at. You know, in each moment I think I'm going to stop talking because really it's just doing it is the thing. So I just find the yellow. And I don't think I've got actual yellow. So what I'm going to do is just put on a piece of, I'm going to put on a piece of white paper that I can then retrieve the yellow from. And I think I need the cadmium yellow.
I think I've maybe got some yellow card.
Oh, have you? Oh, I'll try some of that
Bit
too.
of, like
Thanks,
card,
Alice. Yeah, let's try that as well. Just kind of inclined to stick something on there in order to have the punch of that yellow. And I think from every angle, I had a look, and from every angle I feel like there's colours that you can draw from. Let's just see. So something there. Maybe some... Oh yeah, that's exciting. I think it's maybe a lovely colour for some of the tulip leaves almost, or that kind of yellow-greeny quality. But I'd say for this, I'm looking for some sort of almost orangey yellow here, I reckon. Oh, that's the wrong colour altogether. I thought it was the orange one. Oh, that's like the acrylic. That's a good colour, isn't it? I think that's quite good.
Cheating at his
Is there an actual jar below there? Don't give me that.
Sorry, cheating.
Done. So I think it's kind of got that brightness at the top. Yeah, and then we've got the two daisies that are up there next. I think I need to do them as well. Yeah, and I guess the peonies too, they're standing centre stage, aren't they? Those peonies are needed to be explained a little bit. Let's see what this colour looks like. And as I say now, you can use all the paints that I've got in case some of the colours weren't on the list and things. Do you know what would be quite good actually is that yellow. I could put it on there, and when it dries you can peel it off and use it for collage as well, because that looks to me to be a good colour for those bright yellow petals. That's high flow acrylic, it's really, that's good stuff. Okay, but I think the pink, the peony pink might be alright with that pink that I just put out. I think will work with the white behind it to describe the peonies. Let's see. It's not bad. I mean, I could do with a bit of yellow ochre in it as well, possibly. But, yeah, just brown. Oh, I had brown paint in my finger. Yeah, I think I'll try that. With a touch of the high flow acrylic in it. It's quite colourful, but helpful. So it's helpful to have a couple of things of water so that you're keeping your colours clean as you can. So I think I'm just going to try it. Some good stuff there. So just really to kind of place things. We've got one shooting off the end here that I was wondering how it was absorbing. It's the wrong side. There's one shooting off the end which I'd be half inclined to do a little extension on the page. You know, sometimes do that because I feel like flowers don't want to be contained within the boundary of a page actually, and it's kind of nice to. Or you could say that I just didn't anticipate the composition well enough and I had to stick a piece on. But I do often end up with bits sticking out kind of over the edge, and then and it feels appropriate, it feels fitting for the way that the flowers are to have that happen. I know you might think this is ridiculous now, but I'm just going to stick on this little bit of paper there. And after, there is room for investigating every individual flower. And after lunch, I'll do a second demonstration. We've got 3 more minutes on this one. After lunch, I'll do a second demonstration, if it suits everybody, where I'll explain how to kind of carve out and model each individual flower, that it's possible to do that. And I think that there's something about the contrast of the free, loose approach along with the considered mark making. You know, that modelling, I think, is maybe more, is kind of set off by the foil of the free mark making underneath. This seems a bit silly, doesn't it? I know. Yeah, it's almost even as a note for myself to say, okay, there's a peony down there. So, it's okay. You maybe be reconsidering getting me to come back. Tell us you do. We'll see. So we've got the peony over here as well. I'll use that too. And then this little bits. I just find that it's kind of, there's something about pushing boundaries of what's, I feel like it's a good idea to keep yourself lively with it and to go further than you think is kind of okay somehow at the start. I think at the beginning that's a good idea. Okay, and then we've got some more pink, and if I use the white paint, I can let it sit over the top of the green as well there. I wonder if possibly now would be not a bad time to put something in to describe the vase, the jug, you know, that I may find something that I could put on, a bit of collage or something to describe the jug. Find things that are a little bit more, let's see, some more of those. Things like that too can be quite nice to describe the leaves, tulip leaves and things. You can, by making it clear, it sometimes explains the leaf more clearly than if you were being very careful about creating exactly the shape. So if you keep a radar up for feeling inspired by the materials that are around you, and you might find that something unexpected comes up as the best way of describing something, which might not be what you had planned for. As I said, I know the alarm has just gone off there now, so I'm going to stop in about 1 more minute. I just wanted to do something, I think maybe for the jug, it might be no harm to use the stencil. So I'm just going to make a colour that's, I'm going to make a colour that looks to me a little bit like what's on the jug, and to find a stencil that has some sort of that looks a bit similar. Mummy, am I still standing in front of you the whole time there? Okay. I think it's a beginning anyway. And this is how I'd recommend that you start, if you can, you know. See, we've got a half an hour before we have a break. We might have a little coffee in a half an hour or something. And by that time, I'd recommend that you have something general to describe the foliage, something to describe the main flowers from your angle, and something to describe the jug, and maybe the tabletop if you can see that. And when I say something to describe them, a surface that feels inspiring to you to work over. All you're doing is layering on something that's going to allow you to feel that you can kind of work into it. You want it to have something. And the something isn't this. The something is this.
No
So-
lines, you've not got any lines, and that's something that I'd love to go back to.
Yeah, at this stage, there's an opportunity to use, like you could draw with the ink later on, for example. You might want to draw some of the flowers using line, you know, and there's loads of inks there. There's all different kinds of inks, and we could use the sticks. I think some of the brushes are carved into sticks so that you can draw with the stick. And there's the oil pastel as an option. So just quickly take those out as well. Just for example, if you want to retrieve the light in between some of the petals, you could use the oil pastel. Some of them are better than others. Now that's not great. It's not as bright as I wanted it to be, but even sometimes using your non-dominant hand to describe things makes you continue that organic, not rigid holding tight, but let's see what happens. And make chance essential. As Paul Klee said, make chance essential. Let there be breathing space there for stuff to occur that you have to respond to. Do you know? So you make something happen. It's scary. It's really not comfortable. And that's a good sign. If you're not feeling comfortable, it's good. I know.
If you're not feeling comfortable and you're exhausted as well.
I know, yeah. Now you know your edges, like you know your edges. So please, the most important part is to look after yourself. And I mean kind of emotionally slightly uncomfortable is good. Physically, you want to be looking after yourself. Be gentle with your body. Look after yourself really well, and give yourself the best capacity to have courage. Then, you know, like. And this might look like chaos, but I didn't want to be tame in the beginning. I think it's important that we feel like you can just bring your colours to the table. And the best way to do that is to breathe and hydrate and shake it off every so often, have some cake at lunchtime, and just let yourself, give yourself permission to flower. You know? Hey, you're there already. But you know, give yourself, you have already given yourself permission to be here in this space fully, so it's your time. So you might as well push the boundaries. You might as well be free. For God's sake, we're not here that long. Like, you might as well be free and let yourself play with whatever. And I think it's good having the anchor of the flowers. So you come back to observing what's here. And then, okay, what's the next thing that I can select to make this happen on my page? So it's not that you're blindly following every kind of whim. There is an anchor. The flowers here are your anchor. So you can be attentive with them, fully observe. And whatever it is, then trust that's the mark you need to make and do it. So there's a kind of an anchor, trust, and then just do it. I think you'll be great, you know. So I'm going to just leave all of this stuff up there. There's more than I've used here. There's a lot more. So feel free to rummage in the bags. It's kind of exciting to first maybe gather together the colours and the materials that you feel you might use in the early stages, to have them within easy reach so that you're not distracted by always like me rummaging around for every colour. So have your blue, your brown and your green, for example, ready, and maybe the purple and a yellow or something. And you might pick out some collage paper that reminds you a little bit of the jug or something, and a couple of oil pastels. So have some things rather than everything, you know, because too many variables drives us demented, I think. I think that's it now. I'd say that's it. The very best of luck, and I'll come around and see you. Now the thing is, the flowers are going to be moved over here a little bit more, so they'll be central to everybody. And I had a look, and I think that they look good from every angle. That's my opinion. If you're interested, if you're not happy, let me know. And the thing with the jug, you can pretend it's turned towards you if you want to do the handle and the spout, but I think just anything to describe the, you know, it's the same shape all the way around. So you can choose to leave it blank or have some sort of stencil shape on it. But if you really love the pattern, you could take a photo of it and come back and try and explain the pattern from your side. There's an awful lot of information being hurled at you there now. So I'll put the stuff on the table, I'll clean your space off here, and then we'll do a half an hour of painting before the coffee break. So there's half an hour to explain your wild goose or something. Yeah. Oh, with PVA glue. So this is for everybody to use. Yeah, this is for everybody. All the stuff that I bring is for everybody to use. So just, and you could put it on a piece of, like you could put the glue out like that. That's what I do. I don't know, I meant to bring more. I've got a lot of plastic bowls, so you can, if you want to use them for water, there should be 2 things for water. You know, these, you should have 2 each. But you could just use a piece of paper even to put your glue on if you wanted to. And I'll put the collage paper and the glue up there. So yeah.
On those stencils that